Macao, Day 1, Part 2. Let's go! So after our visit to the Ama Temple, we headed here to see the ruins of St. Paul's Church. Again, this place is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and this place is so important to Macau that it features on their currency. And just to show you guys, here is a banknote for 20 patakas that has it. So the church was built in the 1600s by the Jesuits and was one of the largest and most important churches in Asia at that time. The stone facade, which is all that remains of the church, was carved by exiled Japanese Christians who were persecuted at that time in Japan by the shogun. Without getting too deep into it, Japan back in that time, like the Edo period, was very isolationist, and it was ruled by shoguns, who were basically military dictators that as de facto leaders ruled all of Japan. They were worried about foreign influence and colonialism, so they started persecuting Christians, and they even crucified some of them in Nagasaki. If you're interested in that type of thing, you should check out that recent Liam Neeson movie, Silence, which was shot here in Taiwan. So, as I said before, the church was built and the stone was carved under the direction of Italian Jesuit Carlo Spinola and by the Japanese and the local Macanese people. The original structure was made mostly of wood, and it burned down in a fire in 1835. All that was left was the facade and some walls. The remains of the walls were demolished in the 1930s, and in the 1990s, since the facade was dangerously leaning and threatening to fall, there was a call for it to be demolished, but the Cultural Institute of Macau restored and buttressed the facade with this steel frame. Now it's good to go as a cultural and historic landmark well into the future. I tried to find a good picture or illustration of what the church would have looked like before the fire, but I couldn't. So unfortunately, it seems like maybe no one these days knows exactly what it was originally like. So, moving on from the ruins of St. Paul's, we walk to the Fortress Mount, or the Fortaleza do Monte in Portuguese. I probably butchered that pronunciation. The fort was built by the Jesuits around the same time as St. Paul's Church in the 1600s. And the fort sits on top of a 52-meter tall hill. It was built to protect and defend the mostly Portuguese Jesuits from pirates, but also from other European powers. And it did just that in 1622 when the Dutch tried to invade Macau. In fact, the cannons on the fort are pointing outwards to the sea to defend. They are not pointing towards China at all, which is something that they seem to be really proud of. When I was there, there was a sign or something I recall that said that the fort was only meant to defend Macau from the outside, not defend Macau from China. So there was that. Seems like a bit of propaganda, but maybe that's true. Okay, anyway, so the fortress is equipped with 32 cannons, and it used to have a military barracks and wells, and it had enough supplies to withstand a siege of up to 2 years. And the fortress covers an area of around 8,000 square meters in the shape of a trapezoid, and the four corners of the fortress protrude to form bulwarks. The fort was a restricted military zone until 1965, when the fort was converted into a weather observatory, and it lasted as a weather observatory until 1996, when it became a historic site and a part of the Museum of Macau, which makes sense because a few years later, Macau was handed back from the Portuguese to the Chinese. I totally recommend the fort and St. Paul's if you're like me and you have an interest in history, but also if you want to see beautiful architecture and take pictures of the place and of the great panoramic view you get of Macao from the top of the fortress. Okay guys, moving on from there, the last thing we did on day one was after dinner we went to see the Eiffel Tower replica at the Parisian, which was built in 2016, last year, by the way. I know it's cheesy and it's a bit silly, but you know, like Vegas in America, it's not trying to be real or authentic, it's just trying to be entertaining. It's just trying to entertain. By the way, I have visited France back in the early 2000s and seen the real Eiffel Tower, and of course, this is not like that, but it is like the one in Vegas, which I have also visited. Liam, where's the tower? Where's the tower? Over there? What do you see?
Here.
Yeah? Lots of colors?
Here.
Yeah? Wow. There it is, huh? Is it pretty?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's go. No charge. Freaking sweet. My favorite price. So, good thing about this was that it was free of charge. Like, we didn't have to pay anything as we were going into the Eiffel Tower replica. But the bummer part was that because of the recent storm that was Typhoon Hato, which hit Macau really hard. It was their worst storm in like 53 years. Because of that typhoon, the elevators to take you up to the top of the tower were closed. So, oh well. It's a good view, but it would have been better at the top, but you never really know, and oh well, I mean, we had a good time. Anyway. Okay, guys, that's it for day one in Macau. I hope you liked what you saw and found it interesting. We had a good time at each place, even at the Eiffel Tower replica, even though we didn't get to go to the top. And you know what? I think if you plan on visiting Macau in the future, you should definitely check these places out. Okay, guys, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and stand by because Macau Day 2 is coming up next.